Hi and welcome to another shoe battle here on Run Tall with Tim. I'm Tim and today I got two iconic daily training running shoes going head to head. The Nike Air Zoom Pegasus 38 versus the New Balance 1080 V11. Now both of these shoes were designed to let you run a lot of comfortable miles, but they go about it completely differently. At the end of the video, I'm going to share with you which shoe came out on top for me and pick a winner of this head-to-head shoe battle competition. But before I get into it too far, I always like to demonstrate what it looks like to run in the shoes that I'm about to review for you. So let's do that. But then when we come back together, I'm putting the Nike Air Zoom Pegasus 38 up against the New Balance 1080 V11. Hey, if you're new to the channel, I post running shoe reviews, comparisons, and shoe battles weekly. I also like to post other videos related to running as well. So if you enjoy watching videos about running, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time that I upload new content. Now this video is not intended to be a full review of either shoe, but if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description below to reviews that I completed for each of them previously. Now both of these are neutral road shoes. I ordered each of them true to size. The New Balance 1080 V11 is the more expensive of the two options. It comes in at $150 US, while the Nike Air Zoom Pegasus 38 costs $120 US. Now while the New Balance 1080 V11s cost a little more, they do weigh a little less. They came in at 9.3 ounces for men's size 9 on my scales, or 265 grams. While the Peg 38, now that came in at 9.9 ounces or 282 grams. And that's again for men's size 9 on my scales. Now while the Peg 38 only weighs about a half ounce more, when you pick them both up, they're noticeably heavier. So in this case, I have to give the point to the 1080 V11 for feeling light on foot. So let's take a look at the upper on each of these. I'm going to start with the Peg 38 first. Here up in the toe box, we can see that they have plenty of room to be able to splay your toes. I found that to be really comfortable. The material itself is pretty padded. It's thick. It's almost sponge-like if you were to squeeze it together. And then as we look around onto the side of the shoe, we can see with that upper where they've sewed in these bands to the upper material itself. Then those bands kind of wrap around and then they're sewed into the midsole down here. Now that's part of their eyelet chain. And then as we move our way back around to the heel counter, we can see that that stiffens up. They've only have a little bit of plastic overlay with their Nike logo. And then here you can see they've got a bit of a plastic overlay here that runs from the midsole material all the way up through to the eyelet chain. Looking at the 1080 V11 now, up in the toe box, plenty of room to be able to splay my toes, didn't have any issues there. Now they do have a completely different type of material. They use a stretch knit here just in the toe box, but that's really comfortable and very accommodating, I think, to a lot of different foot shapes and sizes. It's also very breathable. You can see it's got lots of perforations up there to allow some airflow. But then as you work your way around to the side of the shoe, that upper does lose that stretch as you approach the midfoot section. And that gives you the opportunity to have a nice solid lockdown feeling across the midfoot. So I didn't have any issues there. And then in the heel counter, we can see that they have a different material that they build that out of. That's more of a neoprene style. Now the Pegasus 38 does have a fully gusseted tongue. It has this banded system there for an eyelet chain. You know, I found that to give you a really locked down and snug, secure feeling across the midfoot section of the shoe. So I think they did a good job there. And that tongue is well padded, so it feels really comfortable. And I didn't feel the laces digging into the top of my foot at any point in time. Now with the New Balance 1080 V11, this is kind of a combination. It starts out, it's basically a full booty to about the third eyelet here. And then they have a semi-gusset up towards the top of the tongue. But it too is well padded. I didn't have any issues getting a secure lockdown feeling across the midfoot. Although I feel like with the Pegasus 38, in those bands, you feel just a little bit more locked in than you do in the 1080 V11. In both shoes, they do feature that extra eyelet in case you want to run with the runner's knot. Now, I don't always do that, but in this case, I have been running with runner's knots in both of these, so I appreciate the fact that they included them. So for that lockdown feeling across the midfoot section of your shoe, I got to give the point to the Peg 38. Now let's take a look at the padding around the heel collar and the tab of each of these. And starting with the Pegasus 38, you can see there is a ton of padding around that collar. And also there in the heel tab for you to rest in. It does have a slight Achilles heel flare, and that feels really comfortable. Now compare that with the New Balance 1080 V11. They have a different heel style altogether. They call this their Ultra heel system, and really there's no padding around in the heel collar or the tab of the shoe, but I do find it to be comfortable to run in. The only issue that I've had with these, and I've had it from day one, is that you really have to make sure that, for me anyway, that I'm wearing socks that at least come up to the collar and around pretty high up into the heel counter area. Otherwise, this tends to rub on the side of my foot, and it can be a little bit discomfort. For the padding around the heel collar and the tab, and basically the design of that heel counter, I've got to give the point to the Pegasus 38 because I like that more traditional style there to help hold my heel in place. So let's take a look at the midsole on each of these. Again, I'm going to start with the Pegasus 38 first. Here we've got React foam from the heel to the toe. It is an air zoom shoe, so they do have an air unit that sets up in the forefoot, which is tuned differently for men and women. For women, it's set at 15 PSI. For men, it's set at 20 PSI. Now let's take a look at the geometry of the midsole. I'm looking at the heel first, and you can see that it pretty much comes to a point there. They also have a slight heel bevel, and I think that adds to a more natural feeling, especially if you're a heel striker, as you strike the ground and move through to your toe off to make it feel just a little bit smoother. Also, I think that this is a pretty much classic design of a running shoe, so there's no real aggressive rocker here. You can see it's actually pretty flat there in the midsection with just a slight curvature up there in the forefoot of the shoe. I found that React foam to be really soft and cushioned. It's fun to run in, has lots of energy return. And that air unit up in the forefoot, now that kind of gives you just a little bit of extra pop off the toe. So let's take a look at the midsole on the 1080 V11. Here they feature their Fresh Foam X material, and that's from the heel all the way to the toe. And then as we look at the geometry starting in the heel, we can see that they have a rounded heel with a slight heel bevel. And, you know, if you're a heel striker, I think that that bevel just adds to that nice natural feeling that you get as you flow through your gait cycle through to your toe off. Now, the 1080 V11 does have a more aggressive rocker, and you can see that here. So you've got more of a rounded area as opposed to being flat or a more classic design that was featured in the Pegasus 38. Now let's take a look at the landing platform on each of these, starting with the Pegasus 38. And here you can see that it's a bit of a narrow landing area that you have up in the forefoot as well as in the heel compared to what you're going to find in the 1080 V11. Now the Fresh Foam X midsole material in the 1080 V11 I found to be a little softer, have a little more energy return, and I prefer the geometry of that midsole over the Pegasus 38. I like that more aggressive rocker design. I feel like I'm just a little more natural as I move through my gait cycle, and I can pick up the pace a little easier. So let's flip these shoes over and we'll take a look at the outsole and compare those. And I'm just going to start with the Pegasus 38 first. Here you can see that they have tons of rubber here. They pretty much covered that React foam from the heel to the toe. There's very little exposed foam with the exception of that slight groove that they have back in the heel area. And then as we flip over the 1080 V11s, pretty much the same story. Plenty of rubber there to help protect all of that soft Fresh Foam X midsole material that you have on foot. So I think in terms of the outsole material, I'm going to say that it's pretty well a tie. Now both of these are great daily trainers, and I don't think you could go wrong if you picked up either one of them. But for me, in this shoe battle, there was a clear winner, and that's the New Balance 1080 V11. Yes, they are a little bit more expensive, but they're cooler to run in, they're lighter on foot, and that Fresh Foam X midsole material is softer, a little more energy return, and that more aggressive rocker makes them a little quicker for me to run in. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it for you. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.